Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today Teddy is Bot, who is going to play anything but like a bot, is going to show you some incredible Grille gameplay. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know a massive amount of damage is going to be done today, and it's made all the more impressive that Teddy is using standard equipment and no premium food consumable. So, Teddy, your build here, it definitely interests me because, funnily enough, on my main account, I don't use a single piece of the same equipment that you are using today. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that the equipment choice that Teddy has is wrong, or the one that I have is wrong. I think they're just different kinds of builds for different playstyles in the Grille. Personally, I would take a build like this with the gun rammer and the rotation device on close quarters combat. Man, the Grille is a really interesting one, because for a while I didn't really enjoy it, and then I decided to just go and do something really funky with it, and to not focus on the rate of fire, but instead focus purely on the accuracy of this tank. I took a field mod where I actually reduce the rate of fire. Well, I increase the rate of fire. I make the rate of fire worse by 3% to gain 5% accuracy. Stack this with the third, I think it's the third field mod, or the second one that you can pick on the tank, that further increases the accuracy by 3%. And then I take an aiming device on this vehicle as well, with an experimental turbo and an exhaust. However, let me clarify, having recently purchased the Grille on my free-to-play account, you can't get away without using coated optics if you are not using a premium consumable. Even if you have all the field mods, you have recon, situational awareness on your crew, with brothers in arms, you just can't get enough view range to truly be able to have a decent amount of about 450 plus on the Grille without using a premium consumable. So it's just these pay-to-win advantages that Teddy is not going to have here, and I really notice the differences between the two accounts. However, on my main, the Grille's accuracy gets down to like 0.2. It's absolutely disgusting what the vehicle's able to achieve with that 5% more accuracy that you get from the premium consumable as well. When I was playing the Grille stock, without the field mods, without the aiming device, because I felt like I couldn't really afford to use one on my free-to-play account, because I have to take the coated optics, and I feel like I got the experimental turbo. Does that free up the slot for the aiming device? Possibly. It depends on how you want to try and enhance the Grille's horrendous movement dispersion statistics. And on the free-to-play account as well, I'm not sure I can really justify spending the 10,000 credits a game, because I'd rather put it into a premium consumable that would cost to use the snapshot directive. The snapshot directive on this vehicle, oh man, if you haven't tried playing the Grille with snapshot on your gunner and the snapshot directive, which will basically, with a premium consumable as well, boost the dispersion or improve the dispersion when you're turning the turret by 20%. It's like you've got a vertical stabilizer on the vehicle. It just massively changes what this vehicle is capable of, and it kind of makes the Grille feel like how it did back in the day before Wargaming nerfed it. When Wargaming nerfed it, they shaved off some gun depression, I believe. I think it used to have 8 degrees, now it has 7 degrees, and they also made it so that whenever you turn the turret, look at that pineapple reticle, or when you move the vehicle, it has one of, if not the worst turret traverse dispersions on any tier 10 tank, which is 0.4. Now, I'd say that 0.1 is very good, to a point where you probably don't want to start improving it all that much. 0.4 is 4 times worse than good, and it's horrendous, which is why you should do a lot to try and improve it. Now, Teddy has decided to use the rotation device on the vehicle, and the rotation device, that outside of a slot will do 10%. But I tell you what, an experimental turbo on this vehicle, if you can afford to pump it up to tier 3, and I think the Grille is so fun it justifies it, will do 6% of that, but also increase your top speed, your engine power, and your reverse speed, which just makes this thing feel like a complete different class of tank. So different builds for different situations. And honestly, different builds depending on how rich you are as a player and what you can afford, and changing the Grille into some kind of like a super sniper. Undoubtedly, without the exhaust in this situation, the Grille's camo rating is horrible. And I feel that the Grille is the kind of tank that really needs to keep itself hidden, because otherwise situations like this happen. We get caught out at awkward angles, and you just simply can't be able to outspot your opponents or stay hidden to be able to deliver those fatal blows. And it forces the Grille to reside to just chilling at the back behind bushes and just praying that your opponents are going to be incompetent against you, or alternatively that you've got some very good vision on your team. Which is why I like to focus on the exhaust on this tank. And it changes the tank's class from being a horrendous, kind of like a heavy tank-esque camo with regards to how easy it is for you to be able to be spotted, to changing it to being more of a like a worse medium with regards to its camo. Perfectly playable with an exhaust. It's not going to become incredible, but perfectly playable. So different playstyles for different situations. But even without improving the accuracy, even without improving the dispersion values outside of the rotation device, Teddy is absolutely clapping these shots right now on the opponents. And up to 6,000 damage with their team down by 3 kills and down by 4,000 hit points. You know this game is about to get spicy. This is the Grille's environment. It is its home. It's its ecosystem. This is where the Grille wants to be. Having its opponents at decent distances with a light tank, as we can see here. The light tank is called Knock, who is in a bush, rocking and rolling in a sneaky position where the opponents aren't going to be able to figure out unless they're very high IQ. And that means that the Grille now gets to keep its opponents at decent distances and deliver fire from behind multiple trees, multiple bushes, where it doesn't matter that Teddy has decided to not improve the camera rating. But my word, that T100 LT, very happy that Teddy was able to hit the 121B there. The 121B, sorry, not the T100 LT says, "Y'all not shooting?" Does that mean this is from the NA server, or have we've just got an Americanization flooding in to everywhere in the world? Anyway, Teddy doesn't have time to worry about the spreading of y'all. Teddy has to worry about shutting down the light tank on the enemy team. And again, that makes the T100 LT very happy, as every light tank is when they see the light tank on the enemy team die, because that's the kind of vehicle that's going to do that. Scout to try and find you. That's the kind of vehicle that maybe, hopefully, on Muravanka will have elected to use their vision system, which means that they still have to get very close to a T100 LT, especially if that T100 LT is sat still in a bush. That's very, very hard to be able to dig out more of a proxy spot. And the Tessak, as everyone knows, is definitely not the best of scout tanks, but very dangerous when it comes to the combat. And Teddy is going to have to at least channel that side of the Tessak, that combat side of the Tessak, not with regards to firing like 100 rounds of ammunition in a few seconds, but with regards to doing lots of damage against their opponents. So the FV215B waltzes in. Teddy manages to get a big old shot and uses heat rounds here, which is the correct thing to do against the FV215B. However, Grille has spotted its mortal nemesis, and no, it's not the E50M. Where did that one go? Oh man, boys and girls, the ridgeline must have jumped up to eat that one. And that is a perfect example of where I feel that the gun rammer is just outweighed by the accuracy on this vehicle, because missing a shot on the Grille, especially important shots, will that shell on the E50M come back to haunt Teddy? Well, we'll have to find out later on. Okay, so with Teddy following it up with a clean shell against the FV, this is where the gun rammer is useful, because Teddy literally has to get the rounds out against their opponents before they manage to close the distance. And now we see Teddy knock in their T100 LT and storm in their Batchat artillery against 7 opponents on the enemy team. And luckily, this is a shooting gallery. Teddy looks for the E50. I think that's the correct decision at that stage. The T100 LT still giving massive thumbs up to Teddy right now. And I'd also like to highlight that Teddy is going for TD15 Triumph to do 6,000 damage and to get 5 kills and win the battle. But they have their work cut out for them, as they're still down by 3 frags. And with 5 minutes left on this game and an artillery to be able to hunt, how's this going to work out? Okay, so Teddy's going to switch out to HE, but without a premium consumable and without vents, that is a very long intuition switch. I found that out on my free-to-play account, but rewarded with 967 damage, which means now that I guess the FV is going to be a one-shot for the AP shells, and Teddy, clearly an excellent player, has already started to reload AP without getting caught into that trap of having an HE shell loaded. And so that means with the follow-up shell that the FV405 is going to be reduced to smithereens, and the E50M also receives an artillery shot. But that's again a shell that the artillery had to invest after that bad bit of luck that Teddy had with what looked like a clean shot. So Teddy is now over 12,000 damage, boys and girls. There's still 2,000 hit points left on the enemy team. A whiff there again. Poor accuracy, rearing its head. I mean, I say poor accuracy. I mean, this vehicle has base of 0.27. As long as Teddy has taken the correct field mods, it should be significantly better than that. But looking at the fact that Teddy doesn't have the equipment boost for the coated optics here, and also looking at the mini-map, that Teddy has poor view range even with coated optics, that either means they're not using recon, they're not using situational awareness, or maybe they don't have any of the field mods that will be able to give them the slot bonus to be able to enhance that coated optics, and the third field mod which will allow them to improve the view range by 3%. So Teddy, no premium consumables, no fancy equipment, and it doesn't look like field mods as well, but they are having the dream game for the Grille of 12,000 damage. And just how much higher will they be able to go today? Well, you're not going to have to wait long to see, because there's only 4 minutes left on this game. So the T100 LT is still chilling in the cap circle, but has had tremendous impact from that bush. It's a great bush to hold back the enemy's advance and to get your tank destroyers going. And Teddy has not disappointed that T100 LT. Oh, 50-50 high rolls, 751 damage dealt to the Stinger. Now means that Stinger's not going to find the artillery. The E50M is now getting pushed by the valiant Nock in their T100 LT. And Nock can take another 2 shots and only has to hit the E50M once, dodging the artillery shell. And we can see Teddy is very interested in this engagement. Artillery flies. Artillery actually is the one that finishes off the E50M. Alleviating the pressure there from the T100 LT, and thank goodness that Teddy has done such a great job in creating this absolute graveyard of protecting that FV, the Batchat 15558. So now Teddy on 5 kills, 6,000 damage dealt. All they need to do one of the hardest missions in the game is just win the battle. You know, it's easy, right? Just win the battle. Just win the battle of World of Tanks, right? To be able to take this one down. And as the eagle-eyed of you might have seen, Teddy is right on the cusp of 13,000 damage. They've smashed my damage record. Smashed it by like 2,000. Teddy, you're embarrassing me right now, buddy. Absolutely crushed this game of World of Tanks with regular equipment and no food consumable. Teddy's putting themselves at a disadvantage, just like I do on my free-to-play account. But Teddy is not showing it at all. All right. So there's the Batchat 15558. Teddy looks towards the right, sees the 780, sees the 780 there. Teddy gets spotted there. Oh, no, not like this. Boys and girls, complete disaster. And while Teddy importantly finishes off the Object 780, they fired because they saw their 6th sense went off, so right decision there. No opportunity to be able to hide there. Maybe the exhaust would have kept them hidden in the bush. But Teddy is doing what a player should do in this situation. Keep calm, tell your team where the enemy team are, saying that the E100 was in the same place. But then Teddy says, please win. I need my 15th mission. I think yes. So the T100 is asking if they're using the big gun. And considering that the E100 fired HE at Teddy, that does suggest that somebody would be firing the big gun there and not using the small gun. However, if we mouse over the E100, we can actually see from the outline it looks like it's the small gun. Oh no, the T100 LT going in for the... Yeah. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, sometimes you can do 13,000 damage with regular equipment and no premium consumable, and probably not even the field mods. And it's not enough to win a game of World of Tanks. As the T100 LT, with 1 minute left on the game, takes the chance to push the E100 instead of maybe trying to find a different angle and then go through some bushes. And that means that unfortunately, Teddy doesn't win the battle or complete TD15 triumph with honors. An absolute heartbreak here for one of the best games I've ever seen in a Grille. Teddy completely smashing it with that 13,000 damage, giving them the mother of all high calibers. And they also make 33,000 credits profit, as they mostly fired their AP ammunition to do that huge result. So Teddy still needs to give props to Nock in their T100 LT, who got 9,000 spotting. And what's so disgusting about the WN8 statistic is that Nock finishes second on experience. They did 9,000 spotting, but they get 233 WN8. Yeah, because WN8 still doesn't take into account assistance. And one thing is for certain is that Teddy really showed up their platoon mates right now, with their EBR doing 900 damage and their FE405 called Media is Tiger acting anything like a king of cats there with their lowly 0 damage. But that just allowed Teddy to shine. And Teddy is bot. You ain't a bot, mate. You're an incredible gamer. And my heart goes out to you that you weren't able to finish TD 15 with honors, because you deserve to. You single-handedly kept your team in it to win it, with, of course, the vision from Nock. And I can only imagine that kind of like bittersweet at the end of having had such camaraderie with that T100 LT and working so well together to then see them fail at the end. But funnily enough, the T100 actually showed incredible humility, saying, I am ABD. So I guess that's I'm bad. And Nock, don't beat yourself up, mate. You did 9,000 spotting. This is just a brutal heartbreak at the end. But I do think that maybe the T100 LT could have played a little bit more sneaky, but with only a minute left, there wasn't much room to maneuver. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, thank you so much to Teddy Is Bot for uploading this incredible game on the What Record website for the community to enjoy. I knew as soon as I saw it that I wanted to feature it on YouTube. And just a reminder, if you want to be featured on YouTube and share your epic gameplay as well, then do make sure you upload your replays on the QuickyBaby.what-record.com website. Really hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Monday, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with brand new drops tokens to get you closer towards your T78, which is another turreted tank destroyer. Probably not going to be doing 13,000 damage. But then again, I think I could probably be playing a tier 11 or tier 12 tank and not do 13,000 damage. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.